Hello everyone, welcome to the series of lectures on the course Calculus and Numerical Methods. This is part 2 of the first chapter, Solutions of Transcendental and Algebraic Equations under the Numerical Methods section. In this video, I will talk about regular-Falsy method. We will see the working of this method and we will solve one problem based on this method. Alright, now like bisection method, this method is also used to find the approximate root of the given function. Okay, so let's see what is regular-Falsy method. Supposing I have a function f from a to r which is continuous. Alright, I have a continuous function from some set a to the set of real numbers c. Now what I will do is I will choose 2 points inside the domain. So choose points a and b in capital A, that is the domain of the function, such that f of a into f of b is negative. Okay, so let's assume that one of them is negative, so I'll assume that f of a is negative and f of b is positive. So their product will be of opposite signs. Then by the theorem that I stated in the last video, that is the bisection method, f is continuous and signs of a and b are f of a and f of b are of opposite signs, right? That means by this theorem there exists a root of this equation f of x equal to 0 inside the interval a comma b, right? So definitely there is a root inside the closed interval a comma b. So what I'll do is I will put this geometrically in the graph and let's see what we can understand from the graph. So supposing this is my x-axis and y-axis, and I have the point a and I have the point b somewhere here, and f is a function from a to b. So I will draw the function. Let's see, it is somewhere like this. It's a continuous function, so it cannot break, right? So this is the point f of a, and here this is the point f of b on the y-axis, and this coordinates of this point are a comma f of a, and the coordinates of this point are b and f of b. All right, so it is definitely touching the x-axis at this point, and this is the root that we are looking out for. Okay, so that's the exact root. So what I will do is I will join the points a comma f of a and b comma f of b by a chord. Okay, so I will draw a chord between these 2 points. Assume that that's straight. Okay, assume that that's a straight chord. Now definitely it is going to cut the x-axis because this point is below the x-axis and this point is above the x-axis, right? Now this point which I get here on the x-axis on this chord, it lies on the x-axis, so its y coordinate must be 0, right? So it will have some x coordinate, y coordinate is definitely 0. So I will call that x coordinate, let's say, as x1. Okay. So what we have done is we have joined the points a comma f of a and b comma f of b using a chord which cuts the x-axis at the point x1, right? As you can see in the graph, it cuts the x-axis at the point x1. Now what you do, you check the sign of f of x1. This x1 point which I've obtained, you check the value of the function at that point. Okay, so depending on the sign of x1, you are going to replace a or b with x1. Okay, so x1, the value, as you can see, it is down in this graph, in this particular graph, so it's negative. Okay, so replace a or b by the point x1 depending on the sign of x1. Right, so in this case f of a is negative and f of x1 is also negative. So what we are going to do in this particular case, we are going to replace, I will move here on top, we are going to replace a by x1. Okay, so now the interval a comma b which was there initially, it has reduced to this interval x1 comma b. Then this point is nothing but x1 comma f of x1. So f of x1 will be somewhere here on the graph. So what I'll do again, I will join the points x1 f of x1 and b comma f of b by a chord. Again it cuts the x-axis at this point, right? So because this point is lying on the x-axis, its y coordinate is 0, so I will call it x2 comma 0. Then again I check the sign of x2. In this case it is negative, so I will get here, I will replace the point x1 by x2 again, and then again I will join x2 comma f of x2 with b comma f of b. I won't write it, but I will just draw it. So as you can see here, at each step we are coming closer and closer to the exact root. Okay, so after doing this, we repeat the process. Okay, now only thing is how to compute the first point x1 that we had obtained. That is the question. Now I know both the endpoints of this chord a comma f of a and b comma f of b. So I can find the equation of this chord a comma f of a and b comma f of b by using the 2-point form. Okay, so I know I have 2 points on the straight line. Using that information, I can find the equation of that line. And then I'm going to drop the point x1 comma 0 in that equation, and I will get the value of x1. Then I will get x2, x3, and these x1s, x2s, x3s are nothing but the approximate roots of this given function. Okay, so I will write down the steps in a nice way, so that it becomes easy for us when we are doing the problems. So this is a step-by-step method which I am discussing now to solve a given problem using this method. The first thing that you should do is you should choose a and b such that f of a and f of b are of opposite signs. In some cases, these a and b are given to you. If it is not given to you, you have to look out for a and b such that f of a into f of b is negative. Right? The second step is to find the point x1 which I have on the graph on the previous slide. So I have to find this point x1 here. That is the first approximate root. Right? Now if you see that chord joining a comma f of a and b comma f of b, I already have 2 points on that chord a comma f of a and b comma f of b. So using 2-point form, I can find the equation of that chord. Right? So if I have the point x1 y1 with me and x2 y2 with me, which are lying on this chord, then the equation of this chord is given by y minus y1 upon x minus x1 is equal to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. This is called 2-point form, which you'll have studied in your 12th standard. Right? So the equation of chord joining a comma f of a and b comma f of b is given by, so this is my x1 y1 and this is my x2 y2. So its equation is given by y minus y1, that is f of a, upon x minus x1, that's a, is equal to y2 minus y1, that is f of b minus f of a, upon x2 minus x1, and that's b minus a, right? And what we know, the point x1 comma 0 lies on that chord, so it will satisfy its equation, right? Now x1 comma 0, this point satisfies this equation because it lies on that line, right? So I can put the value of y and x respectively as 0 and x1. So I will drop those values there. Y is 0 and x is x1. So I will have 0 minus f of a upon x1 minus a is equal to f of b minus f of a upon b minus a, right? So now I can cross multiply this b minus a with minus f of a here. So once I multiply b, I'll have minus b into f of a, and when you multiply a, you'll have a times f of a, right? In the same way, I will multiply this side here. So I will have x1 into f of b minus x1 into f of a, and then I multiply minus a there. So I will get minus a into f of b plus a into f of a, right? So now if you see a into f of a, that is there on both the sides. So I can cancel off that easily, right? So what will I get at the end of this step? So I will just erase this part. So simplifying the last expression, what we have is minus b times f of a, and this side I have x1 into f of b, right? x1 into f of b and minus x1 into f of a, and the last term minus a times f of b, I will push it that side, so that will become plus a times f of b, right? So I can rewrite this as, I can take x1 common here on this side, and then I'll have f of b minus f of a, and here I can rewrite this as a times f of b minus b times f of a, right? And then I can divide both the sides by this bracket, and you see that x1 turns out to be a times f of b minus b times f of a upon f of b minus f of a. A and b are known to you, so you can compute f of a and f of b. So all the terms on the right hand side are known to you, and hence you can substitute their values and you can find the value of x1, right? Then what you do is you compute x1 and find its value at the point f of x1. Okay, then step 3 is f of x1 have already computed now, and you have the value. If f of x1 is 0, then x1 is the required root, right? Because its value at the function, value of the function f at the point x1, if it is 0, then x1 is the root. This is one case. Second possibility is that it is positive. If f of x1 is positive, then what we are going to do? Here we have f of a and f of b are of opposite sign. So here I'll assume that f of a is negative and f of b is positive, right? Now if f of x1 is positive, I also have f of b positive here. We will replace b by x1. You replace b by the point x1, right? And if f of x2 is negative, sorry, f of x1 is negative, f of a is negative. Now in this case I will replace a by the point x1, correct? And after doing this, now I go back to step 1 actually. So f of x1 and f of, let's say, a, they are of opposite signs. Then you again do that, you join those chords, you join those 2 points by a chord this way and you'll get x2. Then you compute x2 using this similar formula, right? Then you can compute x3, x4, and those are your approximate roots. And you can compute as many approximate roots as you want depending on the accuracy level that you need. Okay. Next, we will see a problem which is based on this method, and we are going to follow these steps which I have stated just now to compute the root of the given function. Okay, so let me move on to the problem. Yes, I have this problem with me. Find the root of the function f of x is equal to e raised to x minus 3x square in the interval 3 comma 4. So in this case the interval is given to you. In some cases it might not be given. Okay, and we have to find the root correct up to 3 decimal places using regular falsi method. So this 3 decimal places meaning the error is already given to you, and that is 0.001. So up to this level of accuracy you are supposed to find the root of this using regular falsi method. Okay, so we have this table, a similar table we had in the bisection method as well. Only difference is, in bisection method we were at each stage we were computing the midpoint of the interval, right? And then we were checking the sign of the function at the midpoint. But here the only difference is, instead of midpoint we have this quantity with us, a into f of b minus b into f of a upon f of b minus f of a. So at each stage, at each iteration, we are going to compute this xn using this formula instead of the midpoint which we used in the bisection method. Okay, so the first column is for your iteration, the number of iteration that you need. Then the values a and b, they are already given to you, right? And using those a and b, you find f of a, f of b, and you compute xn. So I will get x1 here first. Then I will find the value of the function at the point x1, and this will tell me the level of the accuracy, where I have reached, at what stage, right? So when this difference becomes less than this 0.001, I'm going to stop, and that will be my approximate root, that's x1. Okay, so that's how this method works. So we will solve this problem using regular falsi method. So the first thing that you must verify here, the sign of f of a and f of b, which is 3 and 4 in our case, right? So let me compute the value of the function at the endpoints 3 and 4. So what is f of a? A is 3, so this is f of 3, right? So that's f of 3, and when you put the value of this value 3 in the function, you will get e cube. E is the exponential function which is available in your scientific calculators, minus 3 times 3 square. Okay, so once you compute this value, you will see that it turns out to be minus 6.91, which is negative. Okay, so that's negative. And then you find f of b as well, that's f of 4. So you will put x is equal to 4 in the given function, that will be e raised to 4 minus 3 times 4 square. Okay, and you will see that this value turns out to be 6.598, which is positive. So f of a and f of b have opposite signs, so definitely between 3 and 4 there will be a root. Okay, so now we will start with the iterations. The first iterations, you put the value of a and b that is given to you, that's 3 and 4. At a, the value of f of a is negative, so here it is negative, and f of b is positive, so in this column I will put the positive values. Okay. Then you compute the term x1. What is x1? It is a into f of b minus b into f of a upon f of b minus f of a. So x1 is a into f of b. But what is a? A is 3. So that will be 3 into f of b. That's f of 4 minus b into f of a. That's 4 into f of 3 upon f of 4 minus f of 3. Right? F of 3 and f of 4 are already known to you, these values. And 3 and 4 you already know. So you put this quantity in your calculator. Okay, you compute this and you will observe that this quantity, it turns out to be 3.5117. Okay, you can check this on your calculator by putting the values of f of 3 and f of 4. So this value I will take and I will put it here, and that is my first approximate root, that is x1. Okay. Then I have to find the value of the function at the point x1. Okay, and that's when I compute the value of f at x1, f of x1. That is f of 3.5117. Alright. Now this value will come here and we have to check whether that's positive or negative. Okay, and I will leave this value as a blank here because I want you to work on this problem and find the value of f of 3.5117. Okay, so this value you will take and you will enter it here where I am leaving this blank line, and you will observe that this value is negative. Okay, this value is negative. So f of x1 is negative now, and then you go back to a and b, that is 3 and 4. F of a was negative and f of x1 is negative now. So I will replace this 3 by a new point, that is 3.5117, and this 4 will be retained as it is. So my root now lies between 3.5117 and 4. Okay, so the original interval that was given to me was between 3 and 4. So we have now 3.5117. So we have shortened the length of the interval. Is it clear? In bisection method, you would have got midpoint of 3 and 4. That would have been 3.5, which would have been here. So you can see that the interval in the first step only, the first iteration itself, has become less compared to the bisection method. So this tells us that we are going towards the root faster compared to the bisection method in this method. Okay. Then you compute x2 using these two values, 3.5117 and 4. You will observe that this x2 value, that is the second approximate root, it turns out to be 3.6807. Okay. So how do you compute this x2? This is your a now and this is your b. You take this a and b and you put it in this expression here. So that will be 3.5117 into f of 4 minus 4 into f of 3.5117 upon f of 4 minus f of 3.5117. The same way as we have computed the value of x1, we have to compute the value of x2 as well. Okay. So once you do this x2, you have to find the value of the function at x2 and you will have to put it here. I am purposely leaving this blank because I want you to compute the values f of x1, f of x2 and work on this problem. Okay, so I will only tell you the sign of this. This turns out to be negative. Okay, so this was blank because nothing was there on top of x1. So now this I can enter here the difference between x1, x2 and x1, the modulus of that. Okay, so this will tell me up to what accuracy level I have reached at each stage. 0.169. Okay, so this is the difference between the first and the second approximate root, that is x2 and x1. Now f of x2 is also negative, so and f of a is negative here. So this will be coming instead of a here, in place of a, that is 3.6807. Okay, so let me enter that here, 3.6807, and this will remain 4 as it is. So this is the third iteration and previous one was the second one. So now what you have to do, you have to repeat this process until the error here turns out to be smaller than 0.001. Okay, so you have to keep on doing that until you reach that stage. Okay, so what I'll do now is I will directly take a jump to the last iteration and I will enter the values of all these iterations here, and you can check and verify the values that I am providing you. Okay, so I have finished the iterations and you can see that at the 8th iteration the difference between the consecutive approximate root, it becomes 0, and on the 7th iteration if you see the difference is 0.0001, exactly what we wanted. So we need one step less than that, and that's why I had to move to one more step. Okay, so the approximate root which is required in this example is the x8 approximate root that we obtained. Okay, so the result is, therefore, the required approximate root of f of x is this point, that is 3.7331. Okay, so this is how regular Falsy method works, and using this you can find the approximate root of the given function between the 2 points a and b which satisfies certain conditions. Okay, now what I'll do is I will plot this graph. I've already plotted this graph and I will show you the exact root where it lies on the x-axis. This is the graph of that given function, and looking at the graph it's clear that there are 3 roots. As you can see that the graph touches the x-axis at 3 points, right? But our interval was between 3 and 4, so I will just zoom in between 3 and 4 and I will show you all where the root approximately lies. Okay, so I'm zooming between 3 and 4, as you can see it here. The point 3 is here where my cursor is, and the point 4 is here, and I'm between this. So I will keep on zooming. You can see that it is between 3.7 and 3.75 now, right? And then you can still zoom in. It is between 3.73 and 3.725, 735, sorry. And the approximate that root that we got, it was 3.7331, I guess. Yeah, so you keep on zooming and slowly you will be coming closer and closer to the exact root. Okay, yeah, so this is the approximate root 3.7331 we got, and from here you can see that it is very closed. I have zoomed in a lot now. Okay, so it's very close to the exact root, but it is not the exact root. So if you keep on doing the iterations again and again and again, you will come closer and closer to the exact root. Okay, still I'm zooming in and you can see that I'm coming closer and closer towards the exact root. Alright, so this is how we get the approximate roots using regular Falsy method. Alright, if there are any questions, you can post them in the comment section. These are 2 exercises for you all. So you all can find the approximate root of these functions using this regular Falsy method, and you can put the answer in the comment section. Alright, thank you.